Human existence functions as an unbroken stream of subconscious microcognitive events rather than a solid, static reality. This baseline operating system of the mind is called the bhavanga, or life continuum. This looping oscillation represents the horizontal lineage of the worldling, an endless cycle of conditioned phenomena and habitual reactions. The goal of contemplation is to exit this loop and transition to the unconditioned reality of nibbana. This transition involves a sudden, precise structural phase change within the cognitive architecture. Tracing this mechanic provides the structural map for how this transition occurs. To find that map, we must identify the absolute upper limit of mundane cognitive development and the exact mechanics of the trans-mundane leap. We have to zoom all the way in to the precise millisecond level of consciousness, carefully observing individual thought moments known as chittas. At this resolution, we can see the exact moment the baseline operating system entirely arrests. This allows us to isolate the millisecond where the horizontal lineage is severed. We can then observe the immediate establishment of the vertical lineage of the noble ones. Decoding this sequence provides a granular view of how the mind exits its conditioned state. Before the leap can occur, the mind's subjective interiority must reach its highest possible mundane limit. This limit, plotted here along the horizontal axis, is sankhadupekkhanyana, the knowledge of equanimity towards conditioned things. This state is distinct from pre-rational indifference, passive relaxation, or dissociation. The mind achieves absolute thermodynamic cognitive balance. It ceases leaping toward agreeable forms or recoiling from disagreeable ones. This total exhaustion of phenomenal seeking creates the structural launchpad required for the system to break its own loop. True equanimity functions as an active, permanent structural adaptation that primes the system for a phase transition. When this profound state of equanimity is fully stabilized, the underlying life continuum of the mind abruptly and completely stops. This arrest initiates a specific thought sequence known as jhana, designed to prepare the mind for exit. The first microstep is preparation, or parikama, where the mind readies to leave the conditioned sphere. Proximity, or upachara, follows, bringing the mind to the absolute boundary edge of conditioned reality. The final mundane step is adaptation, anuloma, where the mind aligns its frequency with the unconditioned reality it is about to enter. These micropulses represent the final calibrations of a psychological system preparing to eject from its native reality. This sequence reaches peak in a microcognitive event called gotrabu. Gotrabu literally means the change of lineage, the flashpoint that severs the horizontal tie of the worldling. For 1 millisecond, the mind takes nibbana as its direct object. While it perceives the unconditioned, it does not yet have the power to destroy the psychological fetters tying it to the mundane. It is a sudden, fractional breach into an entirely new dimension right before the final threshold is fully crossed. Though this flashpoint triggers the transition, the true structural rewiring must follow immediately. The immediate successor to the flashpoint is a vertical surge along the y-axis, magga, or supramundane path consciousness. This event exists for exactly one single thought moment. It uses the platform of equanimity to plunge the subject directly into the non-dual matrix of the unconditioned. Simultaneously, it performs a violent and totally irreversible severing of the fundamental psychological fetters that are binding the mind. This is followed by fruit consciousness, phala, which experiences the absolute peace of this eradication. This thought moment acts as the definitive phase transition, the exact millisecond the subjective system reconfigures its foundational architecture. At a macro level, we see the complete sequence: thermodynamic balance, life continuum arrest, orientation shift, and structural rewiring. The trans-mundane leap differs from a temporary altered state or a fleeting contemplative high. Because the path consciousness shatters the causal mechanisms of craving and ignorance, regression is impossible. The subject's baseline operating system receives an irreversible configuration. The mind has transitioned from a conditioned feedback loop to unconditioned freedom. Viewing awakening through cognitive architecture changes our understanding of liberation. This framework reveals a highly precise clinical blueprint of consciousness. It replaces vague seeking with an atomic mapping of state transitions. Liberation is shown to be achievable through systematic deconstruction and integration. Nibbana emerges as the mechanics of the mind are perfectly aligned and the conditioned matrix ceases to compute.